प्रभावती प्रभारूपा प्रसिद्धा परमेश्वरी मूलप्रकृतिरव्यक्ता व्यक्ता व्यक्तस्वरूपिणी 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 व्यापिनी विविधाकारा विद्या विद्यास्वरूपिणी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लाद कौमुदी व्यापिनी विविधाकारा विद्या विद्यास्वरूपिणी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लाद कौमुदी व्यापिनी विविधाकारा विद्या विद्यास्वरूपिणी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लाद कौमुदी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लाद कौमुदी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लाद कौमुदी व्यापिनी विविधाकारा विद्या विद्यास्वरूपिणी महाकामेश नयन कुमुदाह्लाद कौमुदी भक्तहार्दतमो भेद भानुमद् भानुसन्ततिः शिवदूती शिवाराध्या शिवमूर्तिः शिवङ्करी 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 शिवप्रिया शिवपरा शिष्टेष्टा शिष्टपूजिता अप्रमेया स्वप्रकाशा मनोवाचामगोचरा शिवप्रिया शिवपरा शिष्टेष्टा शिष्टपूजिता अप्रमेया स्वप्रकाशा मनो वाचाम् अगोचरा शिवप्रिया शिवपरा शिष्टेष्टा शिष्टपूजिता अप्रमेया स्वप्रकाशा मनो वाचाम् अगोचरा चिच्छक्तिश् रूपा जडशक्तिर्जडात्मिका गायत्री व्याहृतिः सन्ध्या द्विजबृन्दनिषेविता चिच्छक्तिश्चेतना रूपा जडशक्तिर्जडात्मिका गायत्री व्याहृतिः सन्ध्या द्विजबृन्दनिषेविता चिच्छक्तिश्चेतना रूपा जडशक्तिर्जडात्मिका गायत्री व्याहृतिः सन्ध्या द्विजबृन्दनिषेविता चिच्छक्तिश्चेतना रूपा जडशक्तिर्जडात्मिका गायत्री व्याहृतिः सन्ध्या द्विजबृन्दनिषेविता तत्त्वासना तत्त्वमयी पञ्चकोशान्तरस्थिता निस्सीममहिमा नित्ययौवना मदशालिनी तत्त्वासना तत्त्वमयी पञ्चकोशान्तरस्थिता निस्सीममहिमा नित्ययौवना मदशालिनी तत्त्वासना तत्त्वमयी पञ्चकोशान्तरस्थिता निस्सीममहिमा नित्ययौवना मदशालिनी. Here after the visarga, since there is a sa, that visarga also becomes a sa. तत्त्वासना तत्त्वमयी पञ्चकोशान्तरस्थिता निस्सीममहिमा नित्ययौवना मदशालिनी मदघूर्णितरक्ताक्षी मदपाटलगण्डभूः चन्दनद्रवदिग्धाङ्गी चाम्पेयकुसुमप्रिया मदघूर्णितरक्ताक्षी मदपाटलगण्डभूः चन्दनद्रवदिग्धाङ्गी चाम्पेयकुसुमप्रिया मदघूर्णितरक्ताक्षी मदपाटलगण्डभूः चन्दनद्रवदिग्धाङ्गी चाम्पेयकुसुमप्रिया मदघूर्णितरक्ताक्षी मदपाटलगण्डभूः चन्दनद्रवदिग्धाङ्गी चाम्पेयकुसुमप्रिया कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्लाकुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्ला कुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्ला कुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्ला कुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्ला कुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्परसेविता Parasevita. Some people, because of the Dravidian family influence, the Dravidian language family influence, some people say Kushala or Komala or Kurukulla, which is not the case. There is no la. At least in the classical Samskrta, the la has gone extinct. Therefore, and also by meaning, it is Kula, the tatha dadhana la, which comes between the teeth. So it is not la, it is la. Kurukulla, Kuleshwari, Kula Kundalaya. And similarly, some people say Sarva Mangala Mangalye, which is not the case. It's Sarva Mangala Mangalye. Though in the vernacular there may be words like Mangala and all, as is the case with Kannada, and perhaps even Tamil and Telugu and so on. But it is while chanting, because it is in Sanskritam, we must honor it. And whatever the word is in Sanskritam, we must chant it. So I am not saying Mangala is wrong. It is not appropriate while chanting it as a Samskrita stotra. That is all that I am saying. Kula Kunda. It is not Kula. It is Kula Kundalaya. Kaula. And it is not again Kaula. It is Kaula Marga Tatpara Sevita. All right. So we can stop here and resume our meanings from yesterday. We have seen how she is nirlepa, without any attachments, without impurities, eternal, without form, without anxiety, without gunas, the sattva, rajas, and the tamas, nishkala, without any parts, which means she is indivisible, shanta, the eternally tranquil, nishkama, without any desires. There is no need for fulfilling any desires as such because she has none. And nirupaplava, which who cannot be subject to any catastrophe. Nitya Mukta, ever liberated, ever without agitations, ever without deformities, ever without being a subject to the five senses. She cannot be known, or she is not, she can never be an object, nishprapancha. And and the other Advaitic meaning here is nishprapancha means one to whom there is no prapancha, there is no second object, there is no object to experience, there is only herself. Nishprapancha and Nirashraya, without the need for any dependence. Nitya Shuddha, eternally pure. And by purity, we mean completely bereft of all distractions. So so there are certain levels of purity, right? So just that if I touch dust or dirt, making my hands impure is just one very gross, uh, elementary level of understanding. When it is talking about Shuddha, even when they say Nitya Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, and all of this, it is not to say that it is some kind of very hygienic entity. That it is. But apart from it being hygienic, uh, you know, for an ant, this dirt itself is his house. For a fly, the junk, the garbage is a feast. So, what is dirt, what is garbage, what is waste is a very relative thing for different organisms. And similarly, what we may throw away as a broken chair or some furniture away could actually be something which is very feasty for those termites in the soil. So we never know what is waste. For our purposes, it may be no longer useful. And again, to question what is really useful or not is digging it a little deeper and into more philosophy. Because now we have recycling and all such stuff. So is a thing truly a waste? Is a thing truly impure? It remains to be questioned. And so what in what sense is she Shuddha? She is Shuddha in the sense that see, even in our own subjective experience, we say these thoughts are waste. We say these thoughts are useless. So, in at the level of the mind, when we discard those unwanted or purposeless thoughts, we have cleansed our mind to that extent. Similarly, for our body, when we have cleansed our body of unwanted substances. Perhaps sometimes harmful, sometimes not harmful, but still useless. For example, we have, we defecate, we excrete, we breathe out carbon dioxide, and there are some vestigial organs in our body which are useless. And so we discard all of them as and when they either start becoming harmful or as a routine habit. So that is the shuddhata of the body. Similarly, when we touch some waste or germs, possibly which can be contaminated, we wash our hands and sterilize the equipments. That is another grosser level of shuddhata. But at the level of the mind, shuddhata will refer to the unnecessary thoughts, the state where there are no more unnecessary thoughts. There is complete focus. So that is called as a shuddha mind, a shuddha chitta. Shuddha Manas. And similarly, even in the Manas, there are four different parts, right? First is the actual Manas, where it is a receptacle of all the sensory data. So when that is Shuddha, it means there is no unwanted data coming into the system. So when a person has stopped doom scrolling, or when a person has stopped engaging in worthless conversations, when he or she has stopped gossiping, when he or she has stopped ruminating over past events or getting anxious over the future events, all of that is a sign of a shuddha manas. And similarly, the second part is shuddha buddhi, sorry, shuddha chitta. Chitta is the database, it's the go down of all memory. So a shuddha chitta is one where there are no more impressions, unwanted impressions left. So just as there are so many routines and habits and rituals that we do in day-to-day life, all of that in the seed form, so they say, is stored in the chitta. A chitta is like the go down of our brains. So there, if that has to be cleaned, it's like cleaning the go down. So of course, you will need some storage for actual necessary stuff. But anything which has been staying there for very long, for example, traumas, they say psychology says traumas, like a case of PTSD or some other complex traumas, they are stored as seed thoughts in the unconscious, which is why many of these people who suffer from such traumas, they get nightmares. Uh, and they avoid certain situations and people, even though they may not really be directly linked to it. So, what explains all of this is because they have some information stored at the back of their heads. So to remove all of that which is unnecessary for the current present or for whatever goal has been set is to be Shuddha Chitta. And then at the level of Buddhi, Shuddha Buddhi means pure awareness. So which is uncontaminated awareness. Sometimes we take intoxicants, sometimes we indulge ourselves voluntarily in things which will drown our consciousness, which will lower our level of awareness. And once again, to be repeating, buddhi is not just intellectual, rational thought. That is also, you could say, a part of manas itself. But buddhi, as is described, is vivechana shakti and nitya anitya vastu viveka, as well as swapna and jagarat, the faculty which governs the body or the organism going into a sleep or wakeful state. What differentiates is the buddhi. So there to be Shuddha means to be completely in awareness, to never lose sight of being aware, to never lose the state of being aware. So that itself is a very advanced state. So that soul is said to be Shuddha at that level. And Shuddha Ahankara is where there is mm, no vainful pride, where there is no vainful sense of attachment, vainful sense of mm, mindness, I-ness or mindness. So that is at the level of the ego, where only that which is necessary for sustenance, because all egos are necessary for, I mean, the body cannot live or survive without an ego. And the mental structure itself is built around the ego as the foundation, as the locus point, as the center of the circle. So when the ego itself is removed, then the entire structure of the mental framework crumbles. So But along with that necessary component for survival, there are other senses of attachment that we have, either conditioned by society or by prakriti, by some unknown force. So all of that which is unnecessary, if it gets removed, then that person is Shuddha at that level of Ahankara. And finally, she, Lalita, is Nitya Shuddha. So there is no process of this person, this system being unclean, which means which has unwanted stuff, and then becoming clean. She is Nitya. She is in always a state of purity, both of thought, of buddhi, chitta, ahankara, body, external hygiene, internal hygiene, and everything. So she is Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, and she is therefore also aware, always aware. Nir Avadya. She is beyond criticism, and Nirantara. She is an unhindered, continuous flow, a stream of awareness, Nirantara. Then Nishkarana, who has no cause, Nishkarana. Because by definition, God is what we put an end to this question of who created this. So we say God. And then if you ask the question, who created God? We say God. So it becomes an infinite loop. Because there is no, by definition, we define God as the primal cause. To ask what came before this primal cause is a, a redundant question, because then the meaning of primal itself is not clearly understood. Primal means the first. So because she is the first cause, there cannot be by definition a cause before her. Nishkalanka, she is without taint. She is blemishless. She is without accusations and allegations. Nir upadhihi, she has no external upadhi. How do I translate this? This is something that you add to yourself, a supplement, you can say. Upadhi is a supplement. Nir upadhi means that which has or needs no supplements to fulfill itself. For example, I having a degree from a good college is an upadhi. It's a supplement. And I not having a degree and being sad about it is also another upadhi. You see, so this is a supplement, something, an identity that we take on, like we said, an unwanted identity which is not required for purely survival. We just still take that identity on. So that is called an upadhi. She is nirupadhi. And nirishwara. Ishwara is one who is in control. And here nirishwara means yasyaha ishwaraha nasti. This is a bahuvrihi samasa. So who is not controlled by any other superior being. She is called Nirishwara, one who has no supervisor. Nirishwara. Niraga, one without raga, one who has no desires, because she is Nishkama, and therefore without desires, there is also, of course, no instance where she can be attached to anything. So Niraga. Raga Mathani, and because she is herself in a state of Niraga, she is capable of destroying attachment of others. So if I myself am a Ragi, and by Ragi I don't mean uh, the millet. If I myself am a Ragi, one who is in a state of attachment, which I am, so I will not be able to help any other person transcend Raga, or at least uh, keep it at bay. It is not possible, because if it was possible, I would have done it myself too. Is it not? So Raga Mathani is she, because she herself is eligible to destroy the attachment of others by being herself unattached. And similarly, Nirmada, and therefore Madanashini. She is without pride, uh, without vanity, and therefore she can destroy in others too. Now, the word Mada, I think I have spoken about this a little before. It's a very interesting word, because Garva is what we usually would call as pride. But why they use the word Mada is because when, for example, an elephant is in a state of matta, unmattata means when it when it's intoxicated, it behaves like it's the king of the jungle. Have you seen that? This uh, these animals, especially mammals, when they are in heat, or uh, when there's this must discharge for elephants, they are so intoxicated, and they just go about toppling trees, destroying objects, vandalizing the forest, and so on. So that is exactly how the human pride also behaves. Human pride, though it may start off in very modest, humble ways, just saying, "Ha, I have, cleared this exam, or I have this position. I have worked hard for it, so I have this position." Just quite understandable, quite reasonable. But then slowly, slowly, as the intoxication, the high increases, this person, any person, will completely lose track of the surroundings and will start to live in its own world. He or she will live in her own world where it is called a God-centric vision, right? Where I consider myself to be God, and the universe around me to be the universe which is there outside. So that's a very grandiose feeling, which is a high, because once that is completely destroyed, once that high goes off, this person is left mostly on his knees, regretting and thinking back all the stupid things he did when he was intoxicated, when he was drunk with power, when he was drunk with pride, when he was drunk and intoxicated with power, money, wealth, relationships, people, etc. And she, Lalita alone, through blows from life, can destroy Madanashini. And she shows us that truly everything is hers. And though I may be saying this, of course, it takes a very long time to truly realize, mm, and actually live by that philosophy. So she, in steps at least, destroys the mother of creatures, Madanashini. Uh, to corroborate this, I remember a story from the Devi Mahatmyam where Dhumralochana is one of the Rakshasas who was first, the commander who was first sent to forcefully bring uh, Durga, or Ambika as she is called, Chandika, to bring her because she was so beautiful, and Shumbha and Nishumbha, they craved her. They wanted her, then out of their lust, they somehow wanted her in their possession. They looked at her as just an object, not as a sentient being who has own consent. He didn't even ask for consent. He just says to his commander in chief, just go and forcefully bring her to my feet. And so he sets on that journey. And when Dhumralochana does come, uh, oh, okay. By the way, before Dhumralochana comes, there is a there is a duta who is sent. There is a messenger who is sent, and through him it is conveyed that just in less polite terms, he just says, just shut your mouth and just come back to Shumbha and Nishumbha, because they are the Trailokya Adhipati. They are the adhipatis of the three lokas, and no god, Indra or any other Agni, etc., were able to stand before him. And what are you? Just a feeble little woman. You are nothing but a ratna. You are a gem. That is what Shumbha looks at you as. So just come to him, and you can stay as his spouse. And of course, you will also inherit through him the three worlds, and you can live like a Rani. Oh, and then she says, "Oh, is it Trailokadipati he is?" Okay, so then out of my ignorance and garva, once had taken an oath that I will be the spouse to a person only if he destroys my vanity, if he can humble me, and he can defeat me in war and in my in other talents. Only then I will willingly come and become the spouse. So that is how, through a very diplomatic, polite answer, she destroyed the mother of that Duta, and therefore also the mother of Shumbha and Nishumbha. And because they got furious, because their ego was hurt, and that too, so called by a woman, So they got into a raging fury and they sent Dhumralochana, who was again just blown away to bits by a humkara, by just saying who. And similarly, the entire army gets eaten away by the Simha of Durga. Then comes Chanda, Munda. Once again, through Kali, they are just ripped off and they're slayed, they're butchered away. And then comes Rakta Bija, who is once again humbled by outsmarting his own boon. Then Nishumbha comes, who is pinned to the ground and chopped off. And finally, Shumbha, after a very prolonged battle, he gets pierced into the ground from the sky. He gets thrown from the sky and she kills him with the Trishula. So, all of this is just the Uttara Charitra in really a abridged version of this. But why I said this was because how she actually does Madanashana, how she kills the ego, how she uh, brings people to their knees as and when is required to restore balance, and not because her ego was hurt. It is only because, and she does it so smilingly, so politely. Even when she's killing them, she shows no sign of revenge or vengeance. She so politely just kills them. And in fact, to watch a person who kills with such great command and Indriya Nigraha is itself so frightening, kind of very psychopathic. So, but that is how she is. She does Madanashana for Dharma Samrakshana. And Nischinta Nirahankara Nirmoha Mohanashini. She is without thought. Nischinta Nirahankara. No ahankara, because she is nitya shuddha. So at all levels she has been purified. She is pure. Nirmoha, without any attachments. Moha is attachment. And once again, this is a very important word because moha in itself comes from the root word muh, which means to be confused. And this I have been actually wondering, and other people in today's class can help me make sense of this. But this is what I have interpreted this as, that why the word moha and how is it attached, connected to attachments, is I've at least seen that in attachments, uh, we are in love with this person, whatever the kind of relationship, whether romantic, platonic, parental, child, or whatever the relationship is. But when we are attached, we're in love with the image of the person. And when you know things come to shove, as they say, mm, and when actually we are confronted with reality, the reality of this person, all our expectations, they take a great hit. And so then there is this confusion, that is that the person, or is this person who was behaving this in this certain way, this person, has he changed, or is he the same, or did I think of him differently, etc. So there is this dissonance between the image of this person in our heads versus who we fell in love with versus the actual person outside. So this is why, at least why I think they use the word moha for attachment, because there is this innate confusion, which ultimately inevitable confusion, which is what perhaps makes and breaks relationships. Because we truly cannot accept a person, though we may say that in everyday good day, good morning quotes, that we must accept a person for what he or she is. I mean, that doesn't really make much sense, because in that sense I also accept some unknown person for what he is, because there is ultimately no interaction between me and that stranger. So there is no question of acceptance too. So, but to accept then therefore means to find a midway between having expectations and completely being dissociated from that person. So that kind of a mid path is quite hard to strike, and therefore the source of much confusion and moha. And interestingly, the another word mugdha, though in Kannada it means innocent, in Samskrita mugdha means one who is a fool, one who is stupid, one who is confused, ignorant. So that is the word mugdha there. Of course, in a cute way, a child can also be called Mugdha because that is also ignorant of many of the workings of the world. But yeah, Mugdha is usually used in the context of being confused, attached, uh, dissonant with actual reality, Moha. So she is, of course, not that because she ultimately, being Nitya Buddha, knows what reality is, and therefore, since she has no expectations, she will look at and scan through us like an X-ray. She has literally nothing to gain from us. Mohanashini, self-evident. The Nirmama, without any mindness. Mama means mindness. Mamata. Uh, and when do we have this mindness? So Shumbha and Nishumbha are said to be these brothers who represent Shumbha representing the Aham and Nishumbha representing the lower ego called the Mama. So it's the same ego but in two different ways. So it's in most people fight over whose God is bigger, right? And it's very funny because though they will be outwardly saying it's my God, I am nothing, but it is all my God, my God. And they will still fight over the God because it is their God. It is not any God being questioned. It is their God which is being questioned. So we can see that very clearly when all of this fanaticism happens in majorly the religion which must not be named, incident which also starts with M, where we see a lot of fanaticism and extremism is because their prophet, their God has been questioned, their customs are questioned. So that is also another sense of identity. And so that is mamata. Again, on the flip side is the aham, which is directly saying I am great instead of saying I am God, which is also another kind of aham. It will say my God is great. Instead of saying I am great, my God is great. My guru is great. My parampara is really great. I come from a very holy lineage. I may be small myself. I am very insignificant. I'm very humble, but my guru, oh, really great. So this is also a very covetous, coy ego at play. And why do we do that? We do that because one is cunningness, to be put it very raw, is because we want to show ourselves, mask ourselves as being modest, but still we will, we transfer the ego momentarily, temporarily to a particular ideal, a particular idol, or a particular philosophy, a path, etc. And thus derive our identity from it. Because once all identities cease, I mean, once we start dissociating ourselves from and questioning everything, then naturally there is nothing the ego can anchor onto, can latch onto, right? And so that is the state of being nirmama, where the ego is, though it is still alive and pumping, it's throbbing, it's pulsing, and it wants to hold on to something, but because of the buddhi, it has all attachments, all ideals, and uh, concepts have been pushed aside. Now it is a state of nirmama, and that is also what she does, Mamata Hantri, and Nishpapa Papa Nashini. She is without sin, Nishpapa, and she removes sins. Why Nishpapa? Because if we look at Papa a little deeper, Papa, of course, it comes from morality. Only when we classify, see if there are A, B, C, D things, and there is a rule which says A and C is punya, doing A and C is punya, B and D is papa. Only from that rule will we find a proper demarcation of punya and papa. They go together, is it not? So only when you create something and say something is right, will you say the negation of that is something wrong. They cannot exist independently. So papa comes when a boundary is drawn, when a rule is set, when a conduct is encouraged, or antagonistically when it is discouraged, prohibited. So papa will come when there is a morality. She, Lalita, is defined, or perhaps through reason also we can understand that morality is the sphere of the human mind because no animal or no amoeba or whatever, some plant cell will have morality. At least we don't understand if they do have any morality. They act by instinct. And it is we humans, because we have the rational developed side of our brains, though our inspirations and motivations are still the same as an animal, we try to make things a little complicated and sophisticated, so to speak, more sophisticated by drawing some rules of civilization. So we say incest is prohibited, but then we allow prostitution. You see, so there could be dissonance. I mean, from a very higher philosophical perspective, we there is definitely hypocrisy and double standards. We say our God, I mean, this person who believes in this ABC religion will go to heaven just because he believes in it. Everybody else will go to hell. So that is also another rule which is being drawn. So from their perspective, the heathens, the infidels are all sinners. You see, so this is a very relativistic definition. And Lalita, by being this cosmic entity, of course, is way beyond, like miles beyond the human mind, and thus bereft of all sense of morality. There's a very nice quote by Rumi. He says, "Out beyond the fields of right and wrong, there is a field, and I shall meet you there." So it's a very nice quote. This field of right and wrong is the human making. And of course, whether there truly is a morality or not is still a point of debate. It's called uh, relativistic morality, or if there is a fundamental morality. So it's a question for philosophy. Anyway, coming back to this, so because there is no morality, there is also therefore no definition of punya or papa in her perspective. So at that paramarthika level, she is nishpapa and papanashini. Nishkrodha, krodashamani, no anger, therefore can destroy anger. Nirlobha, lobhanashini, greed, without greed and therefore destroyer of greed. Nissamshaya, samshayagni. She has no samshaya. Samshaya is skepticism or question. Incessant questioning, which is like ad infinitum. Just keep on questioning and questioning. So that is what properly is meant by samshaya. And she is nissamshaya. She has no duality. She has no conflicting views, and therefore no paradoxes. She is completely serene in being fundamental, that one principle which can have no questions or queries about it. Nissamshaya, samshayagni, she clears and wears away our doubts. Nirbhava, bereft of or detached or distant from the world. She is nirbhava. And bhavanashini, she destroys and cuts the cord of the samsara from us. Nirvikalpa, it's a very interesting word, quite often occurring in the Yoga Shastras. Nirvikalpa is also the name of a particular type of samadhi, and samadhi, as we have seen, is prolonged focus where there is absorption. To quickly take 2 more minutes to explain this. So there is dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dharana is where the focus, attention on a particular object, idea, or thing is like water splattering. If you pour water from a jug or from a tumbler, it spills, but it spills everywhere else. So there is no streamline flow to it. Then dhyana is the madhudhara. It is like the flow of honey. Uh, Very continuous, without interruptions, and well maintained. So that is dhyana. And then samadhi is where this flow, I mean the flow, the focus is still like a dhara, but now this dhara stops and it becomes one pointed, which means it's like after emptying this entire, so that in the beginning, a lot of this honey flows in blobs. That could be the dharana, and then slowly the flow stabilizes. It becomes dhyana, and then when you completely empty out the madhu, the honey, there is nothing left there. So because all the energy and the focus of the mind has gotten dissolved, so to speak, into the object, and so then there is this void of awareness. That is said to be the state of absorption or samadhi. And even there are different grades to it. Of course, this is all very high level stuff and very theoretical, at least from my perspective. So, having no subjective experience of this, I'm just trying to parrot all the opinions that the Shastras have told, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras to be particular. So, it says there are the Sabija and the Nirbija, and then Samprajnata, Asamprajnata Samadhi, and then Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. So, there are these six different grades of Samadhis. The final one being Nirvikalpa, which Vikalpa there refers to the presence of, so kalpa literally means a construct, a concept. Vikalpa means vishishta kalpa, so something which has multiplicity. There is a multiplicity of concepts, of entities. So usually when, let's say, I am focusing on this laptop, so then there is this I, which is Sudarshan, then there is this object called the laptop, and then there, because of the eye, there is an interaction between the light particles from the laptop, the screen, into my eyes, and then there is the process of observation which is happening. So if the lights were to go out, or if the laptop switches off, then the laptop is still there, I am still there, but there is no process of observation. There is no interaction between the two particles, the two entities. So now the laptop is also thrown away. Now there is, first of all, no process of observation. Now imagine this is happening in a universe where there are only these two objects, Sudarshan, laptop, and everything else is blank. And now the laptop also switched off. It's no longer interacting. And so then that is gone. The process of meditation has disappeared. Now the object also has disappeared. And then there is the Sudarshan. And when that identity also comes to a halt, so they say, that is when this Nirvikalpa Samadhi has happened. But once again, this is way beyond my current grasp of object of understanding. But yeah, so that is what Nirvikalpa means. Without the Vikalpas. Vikalpa means Dhyana, Dhyeya, and Dhyatri. The meditator, meditation, and the meditated object. The interviewer, the interviewed, and the interview happening. So all these three, when they completely cease, is when this blessed state of Nirvikalpa is said to happen. And she is that highest form of Samadhi. Nirabadha, she is undisturbed. Un Badha here literally means limitation. She is undisturbed, unlimited by either space, time, or causation. Nirabadha. Nirbheda. She has no distinctions. Just as the fundamental distinction of the seer seen has been vanquished, and with that, all distinctions also come to an end. And therefore, she is Nirbheda. All dualities, all distinctions, and plurality and multiplicity has been erased. Bheda Nashini. Nirnasha, without destruction. She herself faces no destruction. Mrityu Mathani, but she can help people cross over Mrityu, over death and despair. Nishkriya, because there is no karma behind an action, there will also not be an action. Is it not? See, when I have myself no motivation to go lift the sun up, of course, the process of me going and lifting the sun up is not going to happen. Not even the attempt. And when there is no motivation for me to, let's say, become a politician, then of course there will be no, action, as in writing a UPSC exam or whatever, trying to get into the interview or making connections with politicians, trying to become an MLA, or all of that. So when there is no motivation, then there will also not be any subsequent action. So because she is nishkama, she will also be nishkriya. And nishparigraha. Parigraha is where she is accepting. Parigraha is to accept, to receive. She does nothing to the world. So the system, there is no energy loss out of the system, and there is no energy coming from outside the system into the system too. So she is nishparigraha. She accepts nothing because she is full in herself. Astu. So we can stop here. Nistula Nirachipura. We will continue from tomorrow. Astu. Any questions?
Hariom.
Hariomai.
Actually, not questions, but this you mentioned about relationships, no? I think finally, when we are saying moha and we say relationships go bad, my own experience is that in a particular situation, nobody knows how they will react. Every point, every moment is a coordinate. And when you go to the next point, you don't know. I mean, that's where we can say that they control. We don't know what is going to happen. So when we don't know what is going to happen, we are not prepared. When we are not prepared, we don't know how we are going to react.
Correct. Okay.
So why we think that the other person has, kind of has done this to me or has behaved like that. Even that person perhaps doesn't know how he or she has behaved.
Correct. Correct.
For them, it was no. For them, it was a new moment. It was a new situation. It was a new emotion, perhaps. And that is how I have my own experience. Based on my own experience, I am talking. So finally, that's the only way I think. Yeah, the only way is not to expect anything or keep on forgiving to have good relationships or not to have relationships.
Correct.
Is my
Correct.
thing. I don't know. I don't know whether that makes sense, but since
Good.
you said to share, but let me share.
Truly, truly, yeah. I mean, really, really wise words. Thank you so much. And but yeah, then if we do keep forgiving, or I mean, then to not have expectations means why even have that relationship, right?
No, that's what, no? Then it becomes an experience. It becomes an experience. And then if you keep on avoiding the experience, then you will go through other emotions which will come out in other ways. Or then it becomes a matter of your own nature. And again, the same thing. Next point, you don't know what is going to happen. We have no idea what is going to happen in the next move. The fact that, yeah, even this not have relationships, is it possible? I mean, we are four of us or five of us together in this online call. Is it random? Is it, I mean, it could have been some 10 others.
Correct.
So we don't know what brings people together.
Very right.
So everything is uncertain. And since it is uncertain, there is only one certainty, and that is to discuss something which is like this, whether it is Lalita Sahasranama or Vishnu Sahasranama or anything else. Because then that company becomes worthwhile.
Very
My
right.
own thing is that even a marital relationship can work only if it has a goal which is with a higher purpose than the Mooladhara. If it has a higher person, the goal, it will survive. Whether it is to look after children or whether it is to look after, with God in mind. You see, institutions, therefore, are still thriving. Institutions are still thriving. People come and go, but institution goes on forever.
Correct. Correct.
Somebody has raised a hand. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you. Dhanyawad. Dhanyawad.
Actually, she talk. Somebody has raised their hand.
Thank you so much. Really, really wise words. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Usha, ma'am. Would you like to say something? Okay. Kusu, ma'am. Yeah, please.
My name is Shanta, actually. It depends on the
Shanta,
context
Shanta,
when I
ma'am.
use the judge. Yeah. Does this moha thing has got to be between living, talking human beings? Or could it be moha, yamoha? What's the difference? And moha could be a kind of attachment. I don't know. This is my own understanding. You can get attached to inanimate objects. Say, like if you're doing some cooking, for example, you may have 10 dishes. But once you start experimenting with your cooking, you prefer, oh, that particular pot is suitable for me. And you start using the same old stuff all the time to cook. Or, if clothes and play dolls and other things. Is this relationship between human beings or inanimate objects? I'm a little bit confused. Say,
Yeah.
if you're a surgeon, you have like a favorite instrument. You give them 10 scissors. No, this is my scissor. Who has taken my scissors? Give my scissors back. This is the one which I'm used to. Do you call that moha or attachment?
Yeah, that's a very nice question. Anybody else would like to answer this? I mean, I have no answer. I think that should also be a form of attachment. You're right. Because behind that particular ingredient or whatever, then either, see, for example, I don't think a person may get attached to that ingredient. To just clearly demarcate, we may not be talking about habit. Habit and attachment may be a little different. So sometimes they are, they cross over, they overlap in their boundaries. So as a form of habit, maybe I'm using that particular ingredient or something. So that may not really, in my view, qualify as moha. But when, for example, let's say there is a sentiment attached behind that object. So for example, correct, yes. That attachment to that object because it reminds me of a certain image. Yeah, please go on.
If you want to take a rag of a child,
Hmm.
The child doesn't let go of it, but he doesn't know that it is moha, because the child can't define what it is. But it is a kind of attachment which is going to give him or her a kind of consolation or kind of confidence to be able to relate in a different way.
Correct. I understand. I agree, I concede to it.
Children, you're trying to take rats away from them. It's impossible.
So maybe it.
I used to sit with a literally torn at elbow sweater when I used to sort of do my early morning studies when I was very young. My mother used to say, "Oh, this poor lady, she doesn't have a jumper. Why don't you just give this jumper and buy a new one?" I said, "No, this is comfortable." But one fine day I had to part with that. So I don't know, is it moha? This is where I get confused.
Okay. Anybody else who can answer this? Yeah, please.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And it's true also. When we talk of relationships, we usually think it is about people. But I think the Bhagavad Gita also talks about Vishayaha, or the Upanishads, or any of our scriptures. They talk about Vishayaha. And Vishaya is anything that you lay your eye on, actually, if I'm not wrong. So Vishayaha, it could be anything. It could be anything. You are absolutely right. And it's there in the scriptures. Vishayan upasevate. Moha and Raga Dvesha is not there only for people. It is there for things also. I cannot live without my morning cup of tea. It is definitely Raga.
Correct.
So I think it's a very valid and very interesting.
Thank you.
Very well.
Very good.
Yeah,
Yes, Usha. Yes, Usha, ma'am. Please do ask, and if you want to take an answer also.
Okay, probably this discussion started with the moha, if I understand properly.
Correct.
As we know, we have Arishad Vargas.
Hmm.
I think that is the enemies within Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, and Malvara. So Moha is an enemy within us. That's actually is a big point. With that, any of our enemy can achieve. So we also know that we have internal enemies within our country. That's because of their moha for something.
Hmm.
Similarly, we do have moha. So actually, when we come across the four functions of a mind, manas, chitta, buddhi, and also moha, aham. Not moha, it's aham, and one more is there. So most of the time, it goes around aham. It's like a spoke of four functions. Chitta is our past impression on certain things or certain people. And we take decision based on, most of the time, based on all this aham and chitta. And only when we give our control or judgment to a buddhi, that is wisdom, then this moha can be conquered. If we have a moha on certain things, then if we start thinking whether it is right for me to really have attachment to it.
Hmm.
For example, if I have to achieve certain certification or otherwise some education, or I have to learn certain musical instrument or something like that. That's a driving force. But if it crosses beyond a certain limit, then it becomes a moha. You get attached to it, and so that you are going to go with any of any of the wrong paths. So the right and wrong of any the motive can only be judged by the wise wisdom. Only that can be achieved by maturing ourselves every day and being ourselves in a satsang. So as Shanta ji said, the child has moha. Obviously, it doesn't have wisdom. It's pure, clay. So it just behaves as it is, attached. So when we grow, parents, our educations, teachers and environment and relatives, near and dear ones, keep molding us so that what is right, what is wrong. So all these things comes into the picture. So thirdly, I forgot a point. Sorry. I had one more point. Yeah, about the relations also. Same thing comes into the picture. Then, okay, coming to the marriage, Dashina ji has said, like the compromise, yes, there is one limit for a compromise because it's also our duty to safeguard ourselves. But beyond a certain limit of, in order to retain the relation, you just, throw away your own identity and you become a victim. You allow yourself to become a victim. That's actually not justified. It has to be communicated properly in the right time, but there is no one particular rule or something like that to handle the relationship because it's all based on the two persons' nature and how both of them adjust and then open up to adjust. Where there is always give and take. So, but there is no hard and fast rule that you have to give up totally and nullify your identity. At the end of the day, it's a loser. So that is one thing. And coming to the marriage and the relation, especially, it's very clearly said that dharma, artha, kama, mokshartha. Purushartha, I think Sudarshan Adhyapaka can say that sentence. I totally don't know the complete sentence of it. So it is very clear, in order to go for a moksha, but dharma, artha, kama, for all the things, I'm going to nati charami. So that's actually been not
literally heard by the couple during the marriage, and they'll be using in the photo shoot and stuff like that. If they really understand wisely, they can overcome any hurdles. And that's the main motive. Not motive, the definition of marriage, why they have to go with that particular path of the this marriage system. And finally, anything which is excess is a wrong, it is ati sarvatra vachet. Giving too much away or just holding back. Okay, this is my thing. Don't use me. Use that particular. I need that spatula. Or I use this particular book or a pen. It's fine as long as that if that really spoils a relation for a longer time, then we have to find a middle path. But at the same time, you cannot totally give away or just hold it back.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So ati sarvatra varjate in anything, food, habit, attachment or something like that. And one more thing, our great maternal uncle used to say one more thing. The life has to, he used to guide my mother. We have to be as detached as the water droplet on the lotus leaf, which doesn't get attached. Keep doing your duty and don't get attached with that particular outcome or the process or something. But which is very doing things. Saying is easy, but doing it is difficult. So that is the nirmoha, not getting attached like a water droplet on a lotus.
Very fantastic. Really, really, it was very wise. In fact, I just shut myself up and I was really paying very close attention to all the three of you. So really, really mind revealing and eye opening wisdom. Thank you for all three of you.
But there's always a fine line between attachment and detachment, isn't it?
Correct. So where to draw the line between how much is excessive and how much? Correct. It's a very fine line. Yes.
Where you want to stop yourself or where you want to progress. Yeah. It's a fine line between everything. So it's very interesting situation.
Correct.
True, and if you detach physically, then what about the mind? Like Mityacha, again Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah,
Mityacha is
it's about mind control.
Yes. And then again we say that the mind is like a horse. So many things there are.
Correct.
The best way is to
Right. One minute it is there, and the next minute you may be in as per birth, and next minute you could be back in Bangalore or
certain. And attachment again. I do puja every day. The day I don't do puja, I feel restless. So is that another attachment?
Mhm.
Yeah, big question.
I'm the quite opposite. I don't have any rituals at all. So
Yeah, no, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah, it's the same here. So it's an example of life. And one day I could be I want to do something, and next day it's something else.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I don't think there are there is a set one one size fits all definition of this is excessive and this is not excessive. This is where the line must be drawn. But
Something is poison.
correct.
What is right for you may not be right for the next person. No, it's
100%.
There's an individual experiences and also how you can cope with the situation.
But it is true. How you find your
Right.
it is to do the things which really we can put our mind 100%. If Dashinama really was feels that she misses doing her puja, that's how she has fine-tuned herself. we cannot say that is actually a moha, but it is actually a habit, and then to achieve certain things. Just
No, the whatever gives you peace of mind,
yeah.
be able to cope with the situation. It
Mm.
doesn't matter whether you want to go for a swim or you want to sit in the puja room or you go to the temple or you create a temple within yourself wherever you're sad. So it is the coping mechanism of the trauma you have had. Why do some people heal themselves? Why do some people go to shamans or to psychiatrists or whatever? Each individual has got a coping mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I just gave an example. Just to give the Vishaya and attachment could be to anything.
Yeah.
And finally, yes, we have got to be content, not want anything more.
not forcing our mind if it isn't this funny. If your mind is peaceful in doing certain good habits, it's always great. And if you don't find ourselves really like forcibly sitting in front of puja, I mean, example as you said, that's also meaningless. Just praying.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
True.
Astu. So let's continue this discussion tomorrow.
Hours and hours. It's very interesting. So, right?
Absolutely. We shall, I mean, this is really benefiting. I mean, I would say really greatly benefiting and more valuable, in fact. So we shall continue this tomorrow. In fact, I also have something to add about Moha, where in the Devi Saptashati, in fact, starts off with this question of Moha, where a king is wronged by his ministers, but he still has attachment to his treasury, to his pet elephant. He keeps thinking about them. And then there is also another merchant who is wronged by his family, and by cunning, they have seized his wealth and casted him out and ostracized him. So there's a very interesting story about this idea of moha. I mean, I want to take this up in detail and listen to your views also of the same. But since time is up, let's continue this tomorrow. So, dhanyawada for today, and see you all tomorrow for a very lively discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Dhanyawad.